Alright, hello, and welcome to episode 62 of Bodied, the Cloud9 Fancast, where we talk about all things Cloud9. And tonight we'll discuss Cloud9's successes and failures over the past week, as well as some other stuff. I'm Havokpus. I'm joined with Frozencreek for another dynamic duo episode. Everyone loves those, I think.
Yeah, I hope so, because I think it's going to be a common thing at this point. That's once the summer hits, it gets kind of dead in esports, especially Cloud9 related. At least in the past, so it's probably going to be a common thing for a month or two.
Yeah, winter is always kind of the slow season. But Frozen, let's dive into it because I understand you have to be somewhere.
Yeah, my sister's flying in from your neighbor state, I think, Mississippi. So, got to go get her at the airport.
Ah, what's she doing in that less garbagey state than Alabama?
I'm not. I want to argue against that, but after all this Roy Moore stuff has come out, I'm not 100% sure that I can. So.
Oh, we're clearly the worst now, Frozen. There's no question. My state is now the worst in the union.
I'm just going.
There's no debate.
Oh yeah, if it wasn't for Detroit, Ann Arbor, and Lansing / East Lansing, where Michigan State is, where University of Michigan is, I honestly think that Michigan would be just as bad.
Well, let's save this for another time.
Yeah, that's true. Sorry.
But you had a you have a question that you wanted to ask me to kind of get this episode a rolling.
Yeah, so this is gonna since League of Legends is 95% done. Overwatch League is about to kick off in a couple weeks. I think it is now a pretty good time to talk about like what makes a good esport. Is it something like fan base? Is it something like how easy is it to watch? Is it a game that everyone plays? I think it's really difficult to describe what makes a good esport because it's hard to describe what makes a good sport in general. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that it's a mix of like watchability and playability. To me, like a game that's a good esport is something that like any idiot could play. Like I should be able to play and feel like I am at least decent at. And at the same time, I should be able to sit down and watch like a professionally backed stream and go, okay, this is pretty similar to my experience when I play. I can view this easily. I understand everything that's going on. And, I don't feel like I'm lost at any point. And I think something like PUBG, which is becoming a bigger and bigger thing, is definitely having this issue. And I think that could definitely harm it. I think Overwatch is doing a way better job. I think their new spectating system is definitely helping them. But I think stuff like League of Legends and CSGO are probably the best examples of what makes a good esport.
Yeah, I think it is super difficult to decide what makes a good esport. Just looking at parallels to sports, like football itself isn't a super easy sport to comprehend, I guess, because there's so much to the positions and like the field and setup on the field in general that make it such a complicated game. But there's a lot to the action, and that every tackle and every touchdown is like a point of climate in a game. So like the tackles like the obvious thing to look for, the ball is the obvious thing to look for, and I think that if I were to compare that to an esport, it would be kind of like Overwatch in a way. But football does a better job of making it obvious when, like, say a play is over. So it's more easy to watch because I think that Overwatch kind of flies through a bunch of different things and it's kind of hard to keep track of. Where I guess maybe League of Legends would be more like basketball, or maybe hockey, where there's a lot going on, but it's kind of easier to keep track of just based on how you're watching the game, and that the scoreboard kind of explains everything that's going on for you. But yeah, PUBG is definitely not one of my favorite esports to watch, and I think that it has the player base. It obviously has the viewership base. Like, it's been one of the most watched games on Twitch for its entire existence at this point. But it's early in its esports, and I'm not entirely sure that there is going to be something there, because I'm not entirely sure that it was created with esports in mind. It was just created just as like a good game, and it is a good game. I've had a lot of fun playing it for the hour that I've played it. But I think one thing that we can agree on now that Alabama is good at basketball, thank God, in most esports there's no fucking refs, because I watched the Champions Classic last night, and it looked more like the refs were excited to blow their whistle than the players were to actually play. And I'm so thankful.
The good thing about esports, it's almost like impossible to cheat. And if you try, it's most likely that you'll get caught. But yeah, speaking of PUBG, at least from a Cloud9 perspective, I'm not sure how this is going in general, because they take part in this weekly thing called the NA PUBG Online Showdown, and when they started, they were, I think, around like 5th. But now they have since moved all the way down to 20th place over the past few weeks. But what's also interesting is they participated in a couple other tournaments. They were in the Curse Trials PUBG tournament and the Beat Esports PUBG Invitational, and they finished 2nd and 10th place respectively. And in the Curse Trials one, they got first multiple times. So I think that the in-game mechanics of like all the randomness going on with like where the circle drops and how loot works and how sort of just the game is fundamentally played, especially when you're taking into account how many people are playing the game at a given time, I think it just makes it too difficult just to kind of determine which teams are good and which teams are bad. So I think that there's still a lot of struggles to be had with this game, and I think they're really going to need to work a lot on it, like more than like Overwatch, because I think Overwatch for the most part has things figured out, but I think they need to work a lot to make sure that this game can actually be like esports friendly.
I actually think I disagree a little bit. I think that there's not too much RNG to make it a bad game. I think that there's a lot of strategy to play around with the circle drops, and maybe they should make the circle drops a little bit earlier. But there is a certain amount of RNG in a lot of esports, and a lot of it comes with adapting to the field of play. Like in football, if it's raining, like you can't just quit just because there's a little rain. I guess just keeping the sports analogies in line. I guess the drops could be something that might be a little too much RNG. But I think that the biggest mess with it right now is that they haven't been able to fix the viewing experience. For me, that's probably the hardest part. I've tried watching a couple of games of PUBG. My girlfriend tried watching it. She watched the game when we got 10th
it's very
place.
difficult.
Or no, sorry. She watched the game that we got 20th place or something. And she's like, oh, that's the team we're supposed to like, right? I'm like, yep. Felt bad. Because it was like her first, I guess, experience of kind of watching it on her own.
That's her first exposure to Cloud9, and it's us sucking
Not
it
her
up.
first, but like her first, like, kind of experience, like, watching it without me, like, intently watching it. Like, I just said, like, hey, this PUBG game is on. And she's like, oh, I want to watch it. I was like, all right. I don't care, watch it, because I haven't enjoyed PUBG that much. But I think since it's in its infancy that there's going to be a lot of variance in the placing until there's like, I guess, a quote unquote meta that evolves and teams can work on their strategies more. I think if you look at a lot of these sports, there's a lot of variance in the play in its early first, not even months, but like a year or two, where teams are falling and rising as quick as they jump into the leagues. So I don't want to say it's too early to count PUBG out, but they do need to fix it up for viewers.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Well, let's move on and talk about some of Cloud9's more successful ventures over the weekend. So first up, we're going to talk about CSGO and how great they've been playing lately. They did hit a little bump in the road at the ESL Pro League. They lost to Optic 0-2 and went 1-1 with Misfits, which meant that due to their poor performance in the earlier part of the season because it was a new roster, they actually missed out on the ESL Pro League Season 6 playoffs, which is very unfortunate. But, you know, new roster, they had troubles in the earlier parts of the season, can't be helped. They have redeemed themselves, however, because they have won the IBP Masters 2017 tournament in pretty exciting fashion. They beat Team Liquid 2-1 in a best of 3, and then they 2-0'd Renegades. And actually, right now, IEM Oakland is going on, and earlier today they just they beat SK Gaming and actually qualified for the bracket stage, and they got out of groups, and they're the second seed. So it looks like Cloud9 CSGO looking really hot right now, and it's really great to see.
We've been talking a lot about viewership experiences, and I want to say this super quickly. Thank God IEM is not able to host a League of Legends anymore.
They're still having technical issues.
Yeah, it's crazy. But actually, back to CSGO, I haven't been able to watch all of it because a lot of it has been played during the day. But if you guys remember from the past, we do have a friend of the podcast there, Wooly Bully. He's from California, so he's out there watching. Shout out to him. I guess I don't really have much to say. I haven't been able to watch just because most of the games were while I was on a work trip today, so I was in Flint. So
yeah, all good. The important thing is that they were successful and they won. Vainglory also had a little bit of a redemption run themselves. They defeated Rogue 2-1 in the quarterfinals, and then they really hit their stride. They 2-0'd Nova in the semifinals on Sunday, and then the finals they played against TSM, and they 2-0'd them as well. So Cloud9 looking back on top, they finish the Autumn split strong, and they do secure themselves a spot at Worlds, which will be in Singapore. Their groups, they're in Group A and will be Elite 8, who is from Indonesia, and then the Red Canids, who are from Brazil. So good job, Vainglory, finishing strong, making sure you guys get to go to Worlds. Golf claps all around. I know one thing that you probably do care about, though, Frozen, is Rocket League. And Rocket League had a pretty exciting World Championships run, I will say. They started off, they had a bye, so a few other teams played before them. But then they played against PSG in the upper quarterfinal, and they lost in like a heartbreaking close overtime game. It was so unfortunate that they lost. They were playing so incredibly well. I think part of it why they lost was that PSG had time to warm up and they didn't. But they had a hell of a losers run. They beat Chiefs Esports Club 3-1. They beat G2 3-2. And they went to the losers finals up against Method, who was another team that had been making a lot of buzz, and people were surprised at how well they were doing, but they lost 2-4. Did you happen to catch the Rocket League World Championship?
No, I was actually in Columbus over the weekend, so I haven't I haven't been able to watch anything really. Yeah,
Okay.
my girlfriend watched some of the PUBG game while we were. Sorry, I think I've been spinning my mic around. Um, so my girlfriend watched some PUBG while we were hanging out at my friend's place, but unfortunately I wasn't able to watch it. But top three is definitely a big accomplishment for this team. We knew that.
Oh yeah.
We knew that they were really good, and I think that this just verifies that this is actually a super legit team.
Yeah, I mean it's sad that they couldn't go all the way to the grand finals, but considering this is like the team's first ever Worlds, I think, and the fact that the team is so young, there's stage jitters and other stuff like that. Sometimes you just can't prepare for some teams. Like PSG is really strong, and some of the other teams kind of surprise people. So top three is a hell of a big accomplishment. So I think the team has nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah, I'm extremely impressed. I think that they might be our best placing team of all of our teams at this point. Vainglory has been up there, but Rocket League has been like the upper echelon of consistent throughout the year and in every competition.
Yeah, Rocket League has been great, and everyone loves Rocket League. It's becoming more and more popular, I think, with each match they play. So, good on Rocket League. So, I think real quick, I think we should talk about one topic that you wanted to maybe bring up this episode, and that has to do with Overwatch, perhaps introducing a role queuing system.
Yeah, actually,
And I've been playing a little Overwatch, so I think this maybe a little topic that I kind of want to talk about as well.
Can I digress super quickly? Yeah.
Go ahead.
So there has been talk of people wanting a London Spitfire podcast, like specifically dedicated just to London. We are willing to field some feedback on that, and if people are interested, they should let us know. Because we haven't decided what we're doing for London Spitfire yet. So if you're interested in that, let us know. You can drop us a link via the information that we have at the beginning and the end of the podcast. But yeah, back into role queuing. So I think it's a contentious issue because Overwatch is not a game quite like League of Legends. So do you think that there should be role queuing in Overwatch?
I do, and I think it's mostly because there's such a high concentration of DPS players. I really enjoy playing the DPS role. I find it very fun and very engaging, as well as challenging. Tracer and stuff like Tracer and Genji, you really have to be aware of your surroundings as you're always jumping back and forth. And Soldier is very fun to play just from a accuracy standpoint, as well as his ultimate's very fun to use. So, there's this big influx of DPS players that you get when you queue up for any game, whether it be quick play or competitive. And the issue that I face is that, well, I already have like 2 to 3 people slotting up already for DPS. I can't play DPS because that means we have a 4th DPS, and that just makes the comp shit. So at that point, I have to flex and either go tank or support, which is, I guess, fine by me because it makes me kind of an important role. But at the same time, I can't play the characters I want. I want to play Pharah. I want to play Tracer. I want to play Soldier. And I'm being locked out from that. It may take a bit longer to find good matchmaking. You may have to do it in a different approach versus League of Legends where you can just do ADC and mid. But I think it's something that needs to be addressed, and I think that's something that's needed to ensure that everyone can kind of get the role that they want and play the game as close to their teammates want to play.
I think that there is an argument behind some kind of role queuing, but I think what makes Overwatch so different than League of Legends is that each map and even each season from meta to meta is completely different in the way that sometimes it might be a 4 tank matchup. There might be a reason to play 3 healers or 3 tanks. Like, say you want to play a dive comp with like Winston and Diva, and for some reason you want to play Zarya for her ultimate. And in Overwatch, you can't really overlap roles. Like, Junkrat's never going to be a tank. He's never going to be a support. He's always just a straight DPS character, while Tracer is always a straight DPS character. Like, she can't go tank Vigar or something and go top lane. And I think that there's something fundamentally wrong with forcing people in a game like Overwatch into playing a specific role based on AQ. It shouldn't always be a 2-2-2, 2 DPS, 2 tanks, 2 supports. But there is a fundamental problem in Overwatch right now where one tricks have kind of screwed up rank queues playing shit like Symmetra.
Just go and attack Torbjorn.
Attack Torbjorn, attack Symmetra, or ending up with 4 DPSs, and I'm not entirely sure that there's a solution to this, and it's something when I play, it's something I see all the time in low elo, and I mean I'm personally okay playing Orisa each game because he's stupid strong, but I know a lot of people aren't. But I think that there's a fundamental problem forcing a 2-2-2 meta when it's not exactly how the game is played.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and part of the problem definitely is Overwatch's flexibility that they want the game to have, and I think that's one of the reasons why everyone, like a lot of people, really like Overwatch, is because you can be very flexible with the comps you get. I saw one solution someone posted where instead of queuing up, you queue up for like a preferred role, and then you queue up for the type of comp you want. So if you want to just do a 2-2-2, you queue up for like DPS and then that comp. If you want to do, like a dive comp, you can queue that in. If you want to do triple DPS, if you want to do triple tank, there's sort of queuing up more for a specific comp instead of a specific role, kind of. It was weird, but it seemed like kind of a good idea. I think there's not going to be one great solution. I think Blizzard is going to kind of have to find what their ideal situation would be and then kind of meet everyone halfway. It would be difficult, but I think that some solution needs to be taken in order to make matchmaking a little better.
Yeah, I think if they were able to figure out the one-trick pony problem, that would go a long way towards it. But another part of the problem is that it's not a free-to-play game. It's not like League of Legends where it's free. Like, these people paid 60, 70, 80 bucks to get this game, and forcing them to play something that they don't want to is also difficult. So I'm not entirely sure that there even is a solution here that is going to solve the problem. So I think we've kind of represented both sides at this point. So feel free to drop your opinions on the YouTube videos, send us an email, or tweet at us, C9Bodied.
Yes, please. Please send in your opinions. I like whenever we do a bit more opinionated sort of general stuff, because it allows kind of people to get in on the action. We haven't really seen a lot, but maybe that will change. So moving on to League of Legends, we have some stuff. Um, just a bit of news first. The NA All Stars roster has been finalized. You have Hanser, Mike Young, Bjergsen, Sneaky, and Afromu. Uh, I think that's a pretty solid roster. I would have preferred contracts over Mike Young, but I mean Mike Young is insanely popular, so I don't think you can necessarily fight against that. I mean, I really like Mike as just a player. He seems like a super cool guy. So I think all of these picks are probably to be expected. It looks like an alright team. What do you think, Frozen?
The inclusion of Mike Young is kind of odd.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
I don't really get that. Like, Bjergsen was always obvious. Hanser was probably always obvious. And Afromu was always pretty obvious. I think after Worlds, the double lift hate was too high, so it was probably always going to be a Sneaky also, since the Cloud9 player was probably going to be in there no matter what. The only questionable thing for me is Mike Young. It's whatever. It's just All-Stars. It's not like it's a huge thing.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Even if Riot wants to make it matter, it doesn't.
Yeah, and obviously it would be nice to see Jensen or Contracts or Smoothie or Impact play. Like, at the end of the day, it's not the biggest deal in the world. So I'm glad that Sneak is there. He was the best international North American ADC. I don't want to say he was the best domestic player during the year, but he definitely finished on a high at Worlds. So he earned it. He didn't totally win off popularity like Bjergsen or Afromu did. So it's whatever.
Yeah. I don't feel one way or another about it. Another quick thing before we talk about the salary cap thing. The Rockets, Warriors, and Cavs announced their LCS names. So the Rockets will be called Clutch City Gaming. The Golden State Warriors team will be called the Golden Guardians. And the Cavs team will be called 100 Thieves. How bad are these names, Frozen? Who do I have to strangle in their marketing departments to let them know that this is not how you properly produce an esports brand?
Yeah, honestly, I don't exactly know what the fuck they're thinking at this point. There is a story behind.
I mean, I kind of like 100 Thieves, but Clutch City Gaming sounds just awful, and Golden Guardians just sounds kind of cringy, just like saying it out loud.
Yeah, 100 Thieves is a band I would have listened to when I was in 9th or 10th grade. Clutch City Gaming has, I guess, a history behind it. From my understanding, the Rockets, the Houston Rockets and NBA team one year choked up a couple games in the playoffs, I believe. So they became Choke City by like a local newspaper or something, and then they won out a couple playoff series or something. I don't know. And then they became Clutch City.
I think they won the championship that next year, I think, as the story goes.
Okay, so then they became Clutch City. I think it's a dumb name still. Maybe it's too soon, but they should have been the Hurricanes. Too soon?
Perhaps that might have it might be too soon.
Okay.
But I mean, weather-related stuff is always applicable. My issue is just that these sound like you got a bunch of old dudes in like a boardroom, and they're just like, what do we call our esports team? And then they just try to think of something that's like, what can we do to help catch the eye of these hip young millennials? And then they kind of pull some random words out of their hats or something. It's, just, it feels like they don't know anything about the scene, and they're just kind of like doing it because they have money and everyone else is doing it. I don't feel like they're really. I just don't feel like they're like super bought into it, and I feel like they're just kind of half-assing it with the branding.
I I guess while you were talking, I thought a little bit differently about it. I think from a domestic standpoint, it is pretty dumb, but it might have more, I guess, interest or like ability from an international standpoint from like non-English speakers, or sorry, English second language speakers or something else in different countries who might think that it's kind of cool, who might be Cavs fans. I don't think anyone's a Rockets fan, so it would be Cavs fans or Warriors fans who maybe think it's like a cool, edgy name. But I don't know. Like, I guess looking around the world, we have Unicorns of Love, which is just good because like they have like this personality like surrounding their team that is like unique.
Well,
and
they also were able to build up that
yeah,
personality.
And it's like a unique and exceptional brand. There's also BBQ in Korea, which
I mean, they have chicken, and everyone loves chicken.
yeah, that their actual name is really
I think
dumb.
they kind of cheated with that one.
Or yeah, their actual name is Best of the Best Quality, I believe, which is really fucking dumb too. But like they were kind of popular just because of their name. I don't know. Yeah, I think it seems like a lot of old guys that are like, "Hello, fellow kids," trying to be cool and edgy. I mean,
It is very hello.
I
Fellow
might
kids.
not be their target audience. I'm 25. I'm old in esports, so I guess we'll just have to see how it plays out. Honestly, the only thing I'm super excited about is seeing Draymond Green come on the stage and kick someone in the balls in his natural ultimate motion during a league.
That would be
Some kind of League of
funny.
Legends match. So, we are running short on time, so let's go through this last topic quickly before we finish up.
Yeah, there's been a question over salary caps and whether the NA LCS needs them or not. I don't know enough about the salary caps to really make a decision either way or not. I think I think it would just kind of limit organizations. You know, the best organizations deserve the best players. If you try to limit them in any way, I think that watching the NA LCS wouldn't be as fun. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I don't know. What you probably have a better opinion than I do.
There's a lot of different ways to go about it. Basically, salary caps is a cap on how much a team can spend on salaries. So, say in League of Legends, maybe it's 500,000. So each player can only make 100,000 max for a year. I don't know what it would be. That's just throwing it throwing it out of nowhere.
Yeah, I follow
But
so far.
I think there's an argument for or against. Even just looking around domestically and around the world, you can look at leagues without salary caps, like European soccer, where it's kind of just a free for all, and whoever has money can buy the best players, pay the highest salaries, get the best facilities, and stuff like that. And there is a beauty to a European soccer that you don't find in American sports. But the biggest problem with that is that the top teams win it every year. Like in Spain, it's been Barcelona and Madrid, Madrid teams. So probably every year since, I want to say maybe Valencia won in like 2006 or something like that. In England, only like 7 teams have won the English Premier League since 1992. And I think there is a problem with that, which kind of stinks because we do like seeing other teams win, but we do want to see the teams actually be the best and such. But I think it's difficult to limit how much players can get paid because that ultimately just puts more money in the owners' pockets as opposed to the people that are actually on stage playing. If they can only get paid $500,000 a year, but they're bringing in $5 million this year and $10 million next year, and that isn't right to me because these are the guys putting everything on the line to practice every day. And I do think that the risk and reward for owners should be balanced somewhat. And in a franchising system, that's so much different. So I guess I've rambled on a ton, and I don't really have an answer to it. I would inherently say bad because I don't like franchising and a lot of the stuff in general. But I guess it's going to be a community fight at this point, just like a franchising one, franchising was. And I'm gonna, I guess, go on record and say that I'm not for it, but I'm not opposed to it in a way.
Yeah, it's a very complex issue. I think if you asked maybe like 100 people, you probably get 100 different answers. But we'll just have to see in the future and how the franchise league works out and if there will be any changes in the future. But that just gotta take it day at a time, I guess. Oh, one more thing. We got a response from a fan on Twitter. When he posted on Twitter asking if anyone wanted us to talk about anything, one of our lovely listeners out there just said Academy team. There was no question mark or anything specific about that. I'm not sure what we can really talk about the Academy team. I think it's so early in the off season, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how the Academy scene works out. I think being able to foster young American talent or North American talent will be really important to the NA LCS going forward, because if you look at a lot of the team compositions nationality wise from like last year, or I guess the 2017 season, there's a lot of European and Korean talent and not a lot of American talent. And I think that the more you grow the American talent, I think the more benefits that'll just be in the future. So I think the Academy system will be great. I hope that Cloud9 at least picks up some decent people. If they don't do well in Academy, I think that's fine. It's more of a farm to grow, and it's not so much, I think, cornered on immediate success. But I'm really looking forward to hearing more about the Academy system. I think that's super dope.
Yeah, that's something we could talk a little bit about next week. I know the teams for the, what's it called? Were just finalized Monday, maybe? For the...
Oh yeah, the scouting grounds thing?
I'm not 100% sure when that is off the top of my head. But we'll find out who asked that, and then we will talk about that next week. Because
it was who asked it was and I think I've butchered their name before, which is why I somewhat avoided saying it, so I wouldn't offend anyone. But I'm gonna spell out their name instead. Poiapoia.
Poiapoia?
I didn't want to attempt to pronounce it.
Oh, poiapoia, maybe?
Yeah, that.
Okay, so
them.
Shout out to you.
Yeah, shout out to them. They're a super good listener. They've interacted us with on Twitter before. It's always great for them to interact with us again. I'm sorry that I didn't say your name. I remember I tried to say your name before, and I think I upset you. I didn't want to make that risk again. If I offended you again, I'm super sorry. It's not my intention. I just can't pronounce things. We've had this issue on the show for a while.
Yeah,
Frozen can attest.
I think half the entertainment of interacting with fans is fucking up their names. So I'm all for that. Poia. If he even knows how to pronounce it. We do appreciate the interaction, but that's something we are going to look at next week, because I am in a rush.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get going. Frozen, thank you for taking the time to do this show with me before you had to go somewhere. Thank you out there for taking the time to listen to us on Bodied, the Cloud9 Fancast. You can tweet at us at C9Bodied or email us at bodiedfancast@gmail.com. Try to hit us up. And I think that's it. So thank you and good night.
Good night. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.